If you have your ready LED light on, as well as your safety LED light on, and you come up to your oil out switch and turn it on, and you still don't have power, turn your oil out switch off, come over to the side, and hit the reset to the circuit breaker, and then coming back up to the oil out switch to on, and it pops again. You can hit the oil out switch to off, come down to the circuit breaker and depress it, come back up to the switches, holding the back flush button, and if the circuit breaker pops again, then we know it's a clogged pump, and I will show you how to fix that. Now we're going to find out what's wrong with the pumps because it is jammed. Coming down, these are the tools that you're going to be using. A T25 hammer, a flathead screwdriver, and a 7/16 3/8 quarter drive ratchet. First, what you want to do is take your T25 screwdriver, unscrew 3 of the 4 screws on the service door, making sure you get the screw as well as the washer. Just loosening that one and putting it down so you have better access. And the best place to put these are right by the valve. That way we don't lose them. Now we're going to take the rest of the back panel off, screws. I usually start with the bottom. Easier on myself. So leaving the last 2 screws on because we don't want this to fall when we unscrew the last one, which is the middle one. So gently take that one. Unscrew. What I usually do is I grab the entire thing, bring it down, and put the side panel to the back. Okay, this is your pump, and to give you an idea of what it looks like, the cutaway model of what the pump looked like. So it sits right here. What we want to do is take your 3/8 drive ratchet with a 7/16 socket and loosen up the 4 7/16 bolts on the cover of the pump. And you just have to get them loosened, and then you can use your hand and remove the bolts. And then just for safety, you can put those right here. To give you an idea of what we just did is 3 7/16 bolts out of the cover. And then what we want to do is create just enough space between the pump and the cover to where you can get your your screwdriver in there to gently press out the pump cover. And to do that, take your flathead screwdriver, move it just to the side a little bit to create a lip. Holding the screwdriver, take your hammer, gently tap, and the cover will come out. And to show you what it looks like, like this, and it has your O-ring. Make sure this is always intact, because if it is not, it will not create a positive seal while filtering. To give you a better understanding of what it looked like, come over here. This is what the inside of the gear pump looks like. You have your gear shaft and as well as your inner gear. If you can, take out the inner gear shaft just by pulling it out. If you can't, for some reason, dislodge the gear shaft by itself, that means it is rusted, it's jammed with something, and it's best to call your Zeeco support service tech so he can walk, so they can walk through step by step on how to disclog that. But if you can get it out, just gently pull it out, along with the gear shaft, and that's what the inner workings of the pump look like. So let's do it on our model. So gently pulling out the gear shaft and then checking for any rust or debris. This one's a little dirty, but not too bad. And then reaching inside again and gently pulling out the inner gear. Again, checking for the teeth as well as the outside. If you notice any rust or debris at all, take a wire brush that can fit in and just scrub the inside of the gears, making sure you get inside the teeth as well as the outside. Now what you want to do is after that, check the inside of the pump using your small finger. Check the top of the pump as well as the bottom, making sure it's clear of all debris. And then what you can do is take your inner gear again. Once that's cleared out, slide back in the inner gear. Take your gear shaft that you just cleaned. Make sure it goes in long ways, so this goes to the motor, not short way. So long way, always pointing that way. And seat it just like this inside. So on our cutaway, put in your inner gear shaft, or inner gear like this. Take your gear shaft, gently slide it in, and to make sure it's snug into place, rotate until it goes all the way to the back. Then we take our cover, making sure that the O-ring is on, and our crescent moon goes in between the space of the gears and the inner gear, and make sure it's into place. And making sure that it is flushed between the gear and the inner gear. So basically what we did is we took our crescent moon shaped gear cover, placed it inside the space between the gear shaft as well as the inner gear, and made it fit like that. Okay, so after putting the pump together and making sure that it is clear of debris, we can now put our bolts back in. You don't want to crank tight, hand crank tight the bolts right away, because you want to harmonically tune the pump so it doesn't create friction on the gears. And I'll show you what I mean by that. So with our bolts intact and our lights are on up on top, I'll show you how we do not want our motor to sound. So take the oil out to on. We want to hear it like that, never like that, because that means it's over tightened. So always make sure that the crescent shaped gear pump cover is always in the middle of the gears. So after we put the bolts in, take our 7/16 with a 3/8 drive and gently tighten the bolts. They don't have to be cranked too tight, just snug. And then we can check our pump by turning it on. And we have a good working pump. So after you made sure your pump is working perfectly, let's close it back up by closing our service door. If your Zeeco oil filtration machine runs normally after you have cleaned out the pump, take the back panel, place it on the back, re-screw it in, and use as normal. If not, locate your 4 individual relays, gently tapping on each one of those. If it does work, continue as used. But if not, call your Zeeco oil technician right away to help repair the machine. And then putting on the final screw, back panel, making sure it's nice and snug. Then take your electrical cord and rewind it up.